If you have a Chevy Volt or a Cadillac ELR, this video may help you in replacing one cell rather than the whole high voltage battery system. In 2015, I purchased a 2014 Cadillac ELR with a sticker price of almost $82,000. I love this car more than the Chevy Corvette that I have. About 2 years ago, 6 months after my high voltage battery warranty ran out, I got one of those dreaded POAFA faults. This particular fault basically turns your car into a brick. The first time this happened, I took it to the Cadillac dealer to get it fixed, and their service department didn't know what to do with it. I had to get the service manager in touch with a gentleman in Florida who knew how to reset the fault and get the car running again. That cost me somewhere around $800. I have been so upset with General Motors about this that I will never buy another GM product. I believe there was about 170,000 Chevy Volts manufactured and somewhere around 3,000 Cadillac ELRs manufactured. So there are a lot of us out there that may have bricks sitting in our garage. I hope all of you out there that are having problems will raise hell with GM dealers and corporate offices. What I've been able to find out is if one of the cells is 0.121 volts different than the other cells, it sets this particular fault. It seems like an easy fix for GM. All they would need to do is reprogram the computer and make the difference higher. Maybe 0.221 volts or maybe 0.5 volts or more. This would at least let us drive our vehicles even though one of the cells may be failing. I believe from 2011 until 2015 they used 3 batteries per cell, 96 cells to make up a battery pack. From 2016 to 2019 they made 2 batteries per cell and again 96 cells to make a battery pack. Like I said before, I have a 2014 ELR Cadillac and it only has 9,000 miles on it. It's not so much a mileage thing as it is a time thing. The battery in my car is at least 10 years old. I know all of you at one time or another have had a toy or a flashlight with batteries, and one of those batteries will go bad and corrode the contacts. Well, I think that one of the batteries in one of the cells on the production line had a little screw up, and that battery was put into my car, causing the failure. I have decided to take things into my own hands and repair the problem. I'm going to wait maybe a couple of years and continue driving this car, and hopefully at some time in the near future someone will come out with the new graphene aluminum batteries. If not, I will order brand new lithium-ion batteries and remove all of the batteries that are in the pack now and replace them with brand new ones. You can buy brand new lithium-ion batteries with a much higher amp hour, which will give you more EV miles for about $1,900 plus shipping. So this is how I fixed my problem. In 2015, I bought a 2014 ELR Cadillac. Had a sticker price of about almost $82,000. And I love this car. It was my favorite car to drive. And I also have a Corvette, and I like it better than I like the Corvette. Anyway, 6 months after the 8-year warranty on the hybrid high voltage batteries expired, cell number 91 and somewhat 84 deteriorated enough that it caused the POAFA fault, which you need the dealer to clear it or some other way of clearing it. There's been a lot of stuff on YouTube. Anyway, so the only solution to this problem is to have the whole battery pack replaced. The only problem is you're replacing at least a 10-year-old battery with a battery that's at least 10 to 15-year-old, because this car uses the same battery pack as the 2014 Volt. So the 2011 Volt to 20, maybe 15 uses the same battery. There's 3 batteries per cell. So why would I want to put an old battery back into a battery pack? So I've decided to maybe take things into my own hands. I've got a sample here of the battery pack, part of it, that comes out of the pre-2014. This probably came out of a Volt. It could have been an ELR Cadillac. But I'm going to actually remove several of these cells, and I'm going to drop the battery pack out of my Cadillac and eliminate the bad cells, number 91 and number 84, possibly another 1 or 2. And I will use these batteries as a replacement. So I bought this so I could see what the problems are that I'm going to encounter and how easy it would be to do what I needed to do, keeping all of the connections and everything intact so that the computer doesn't go nuts. Anyway, I'm going to take this particular cell out of here, and right in this area right here, I'm going to grind and cut this piece of metal. I'm also going to do the same thing over here and cut this one. That means this battery cell, which will include 3 batteries, I'm going to remove. I'm probably going to do the same thing on this one, cutting it here and cutting it here, and take this particular cell out. I will probably, I've already taken one other cell out, so I may take a third one. But basically what I'm going to do when I get the battery pack out of the car is I'm not going to remove the bad cells. I'm just going to eliminate them from the pack. And in place, I'm going to pop rivet the new, well, these aren't new, they're at least 10 years old, but they're good. And I'll test them, I'll discharge them and charge them back up to make sure that they're a good cell. So basically, I'm going to cut here and cut here. That'll give me a 3-pack cell. I'm going to cut here and here, and that'll give me another 3-pack cell. And I've already got one 3-pack cell out of here already. So I'll use that, and I will discharge these and then charge them back up to make sure they're good before I put them in the Cadillac. So I'm gonna use a high-speed grinder. You can see there. And I'm going to grind right across here until I cut this. This is the heavy metal. It's not the battery. The battery is a fairly thin copper. But this is the thicker silver metal. It's actually copper underneath. But I'm going to cut these with this grinding tool, and then I'll be able to pull them out and use them. So I'm going to do a little cutting here. Since this is of the same voltage, I'm not worried about getting any sparks or shorting anything out. If I touch this one and this one, I'll get some sparks, but it won't be that big of a voltage. So now, I don't want to cut all the way through the metal. I just need to score it fairly deeply because I don't want to cut the thin metal. And there's three of them here, and they've used a method of squeezing all this metal together to get it to here together. But I'm going to just take some pliers, and like I said, I'm not worried about hitting this one because, as you can see, it's the same voltage. It's there's no problem touching it. So after a little work here, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Now, if I touch this one to this one, naturally it's going to spark. So I will use some cardboard or something, piece of plastic, and put in here so that I don't touch this one while I'm bending this one back and forth, because I need to bend this back and forth as well. And I was wondering how they were monitoring each cell individually. And of course, there's a plug here that plugs in, and This goes to the next battery. Anyway, they monitor each one of the cells so they can try to get them charged correctly. And in the middle of this, there's a printed circuit board embedded inside this plastic, and it hooks right in here. So if you take the second pin here and this, it's connected. If you take the second pin on this side, it's actually hooked in over here. So it's got 12 pins which monitor the 12 batteries, 12 cells. The 2 pins at the very end on both ends, they hook into here, which is this is checking for heat to either pump cold or hot liquid through to warm or cool the battery. So this is a temperature sensor. So when I drop the battery out of the Cadillac, of course, all of this will stay intact, so I'm not worried about it. So I'm going to bend these back and forth until they physically break, and then I can pull this whole cell out of here. This one just broke. Okay, I'm going to do the same on this one, but I'm going to put something in here so I don't short it out. Okay, I've got both of these actually cut and broken loose. So now it'll be a simple matter of removing this cell. And this is a 48 volt pack, so I'm not worried about getting shocked. Of course, when you get into the full battery pack of the vehicle, you're going to have to take a little care, probably wear some high voltage gloves, keep things covered as much as possible so you don't get electrocuted. But as you can see, this cell comes right out. So here's one battery, and we don't need the plastic in here, so I'm going to take this out. And there's another, I don't know exactly why they put this in, but anyway, there's another piece of plastic in here. So there's actually 3 cells here. So these 3 cells, or 3 batteries, make up 1 cell, as you can see. So, and this is the positive and this is the negative. Negative, positive. And I'll probably take a Mark-a-Lot and mark these out. But essentially what I plan to do on the battery pack in the car is, when I get the whole battery pack out and exposed like this, I'm going to cut the bad battery, and I'm not going to take it out. I'm just going to cut it and push it out of the way, and probably put some plastic or silicone between this and the metal piece here, I'm going to leave this side alone because I don't need to worry about this. But if I remove this one, then this particular battery is out of the circuit if this is an open. So then what I plan to do is basically come in here, and I'm not going to touch these, but this is a fairly thick piece of copper here, and likewise on this side, and it's got 3 batteries to make this one cell. So what I plan to do is to use pop rivets, I think. I won't know till I get there. But basically, I'm going to put this battery and pop rivet where the old battery was. So I'll put this battery where the old battery was, and then I'm just going to bend these over and lay this on top. And it's not going to have any cooling, but I don't drive this car much. It's only got 9,000 miles on it, which makes me very aggravated with GM Cadillac that they give no help whatsoever. They don't make the batteries anymore. So if you get this fault, you've either got to install old batteries that have been reassembled to get your vehicle to go, or it sits in the garage as a brick. Mine is in the garage now as a brick and has been for months. So I'm going to see if I can do this. If these heat up a little bit, so what? When I do the charge and discharge on these, I'll find out just really how hot they get. Now, I live in the Southwest, so it's relatively hot here in the summer, never gets very cold in the winter, so I'm not worried about the cold weather. I'd be more worried about the hot weather. But I don't think, since I don't rarely go more than 20 miles a day, and I rarely go that far every day, I may use the car twice, maybe 3 times a week. So I never use gasoline. It's always electric powered. So anyway, that's going to be the design of what I plan to do. So I don't know the depth from here to the top of the case, but there should be probably at least a ½ inch, maybe more, so that this will actually be able to lay flat on here. If not, I'll have to figure something else out. Once I get the car, the battery, the high voltage hybrid battery out of the car, then I can take some measurements and make sure that I'm correct. I've looked all over the internet. I can't find any measurements anywhere. Of course, the Cadillac dealer here is absolutely worthless. I had to tell them how to clear the thing so that the first time I took it to them, they're the ones that did the clearing of the code, and I had to let them know how to do it because their service manager and anybody that worked on it didn't know anything about it. So there's nobody here in Las Cruces, New Mexico that knows anything about these cars. That's going to be my plan. So I'm going to get 3 of these packs out of here. I'm going to discharge them and then charge them back up. And I'll probably do that in several cycles and see if they come up high enough voltage wise. These look pretty good. They're at 3.7 volts right now. And that's kind of where they should be, although the ones in my car fully charged are a little over 4 volts. So I'm hoping when I charge these, they'll come up to close to 4 volts. Anyway, that's my plan. I'm going to take 1 or 2 more of these out, and I'll get me some alligator clips and some wire, and I'll clip these together in series, and then I can use my regular car charger to charge them back up. And I'll see how hot they get. So I'll charge them at a low speed and see. Okay, I just got the next set of 3 batteries, which makes a cell. I've got, so these will just simply slide right out of here, pretty easy. And there you have the next set of batteries. So it's not a hard job to do, relatively easy. So yeah, like I said, when you get the full battery pack out of the car, you're going to have to take a lot more care about shorting things out. So you'll need to be very careful that you're doing the right thing and hooking. These are all hooked in series, so it's plus to minus, minus to plus. So you'll need to make sure you're connecting these correctly. But I've got 3 of these packs now, so I'll be able to play around with them, discharge them and charge them, and see what they do, see how much heat they generate. Frankly, I don't use high-speed chargers, so I just charge mine on 120 volts. Since I don't drive it much, it has plenty of time to sit in the garage and charge up. But I'll end up drilling holes, probably 2 in each tab, and again 2 holes here and here wherever they hook on, and use pop rivets to rivet these together. That seems like the easiest way to me. I may come up with something different, but just be careful when you get into the high voltage stuff that you don't end up dead. So anyway, I'll make a part 2 of this when I physically drop the battery pack out of the Cadillac and take it apart and actually attach these. Once I find where cell 91 and 84 are, they're relatively close together, I'm sure. And then I'll put these in and see how it goes. Hopefully I'll have a car to drive again. It's really aggravating to work with a brick. The newest battery technology that looks like it's going to take over from for the lithium ion is going to be graphene aluminum, and that is what Tesla is going to use later in the year in their 2025 Y series, is my understanding. So I'm hoping at some point somebody will take the initiative and build a new battery pack. I mean new, meaning a brand new battery, not a 10 or 15-year-old battery, a new battery, and make a pack that'll fit in to the Volts and the ELR Cadillacs. If not, I'm checking right now about buying brand new lithium ion batteries out of China. And as soon as they get their graphene into production, those would be the preferable batteries to get. They can charge faster, they don't generate as much heat, and they have a lot more power density. So I should be able to get a lot more electric miles out of the hybrid. So this is probably the end of part one, and I will do a part two whenever I drop the battery out of the Cadillac. I finally got the battery out of my ELR Cadillac, and I'm working on it now. And the cell that I found bad was right here, this cell. So when I checked the voltage on it, it was about 2.5 volts. Everything else in the battery sections are like 2.7, 2.8, 2.9. So they're in pretty good shape. Right now I'm discharging one battery. Since I don't have a variable charger voltage-wise, I've got a 12-volt charger. So I need to discharge this battery until it gets to about 2.7, and then I'll take and put 3 batteries. There's actually 3 batteries in this area that need to be charged up so they're closer to everything else. So I'm discharging the one battery, and then I can use 3 batteries and charge using 12 volts to charge those up. This one is a little low, so I'm charging it up and trying to get everything in the kind of the 3.7, 3.8 range. The rest of the battery pack all measured good, so everything is fine up there. But I do have one battery that is bad right right in here. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to take this top cover and I'm going to cut some holes in it here and here so that I can use these copper strips, and I will rivet these strips onto basically to eliminate this one battery. It's just going to, the battery is staying in there. It's just not going to be in the circuit anymore. So I'm going to pop rivet this copper sheet onto the plus of a good battery. Here is the new battery pack. It's a 3-pack. And I'm going to use these on here and rivet them on. So, and then I'm going to just, I measured and there's enough room, it appears, for this pack to lay right on top of this cover. So it's not going to be heated and cooled or anything, but I never use a fast charger. It's slow charge. I've only got 9,000 miles on this Cadillac, and it's a 2014 ELR. And it really chaps me off that GM is doing nothing about these. So you get something like this, and of course there's no new batteries. If you want, the newest batteries you can get are probably 10 years old, and they restack them with wrecked cars or whatever, which is really aggravating. I'm almost thinking that if I can get this car running, because I love the car, I'll try to drive it for a couple of 3 more years. And then the newest technology that's going to be out is graphene aluminum batteries. And in the meantime, I'll look and see if I can find information on what's coming out of here so that I can basically eliminate all of these batteries and replace them with brand new graphene aluminum batteries. So that's basically the plan. I'll come back and show you once I get the holes cut in here and the copper attached. But I'll make another little video. All right, this is the bad cell right here, this one. And it just so happened that it's in the right place. There's a strap that went from this bolt to this one. And I eliminated that strap. So basically, this cell now, right here, is out of the circuit. So what I've done is I got a piece of copper. Actually, it was a 3/4 inch copper coupling for pipe, and I cut it, flattened it out, and made this little bracket. And I've used pop rivets, and I drill through this ear, drill through the ear and the copper, and put the pop rivets in. So this is really solid. Now, what I'm going to do next is come over to this and again drill holes through this and pop rivet this one on. So looking at it from the top, once I bend this other one back a little bit, these two will pretty much be even. And the battery pack itself is going to be pop riveted onto here and the other one that's over here. So therefore I'll put a new battery back in the circuit, but it'll be from this point to this point. So this is a positive here. So I'll hook the negative side of the battery here, which will run over to this point here. So we need to put these in series. So this is a negative, this is a plus, and we'll go from negative on the battery to the plus side of the battery over here. And this is the negative over here, so they'll be in series. So, and then this battery pack, which I've got here, is going to be just laid on the top. There's actually enough space, just barely, to lay this on top of this protective cover right here. So I'll come back and shoot another little video once I get the other bracket in. Here I finished installing the old, new, however you'd like to call it. This battery pack was probably at least 10 years old, but it came out of a good, I discharged it and charged it several times and it did just fine. So I'm using this one. I have several more, but I'm not going to need them. I've, like I said, eliminated electrically one of the cells, and then I hooked copper straps where I needed to go to put this cell in series and eliminate the one that was bad. The one that was bad was measuring 2.5 volts, and these all need to be 3.5 or more. So this cell, or this bank of cells, is in pretty good shape now. There were some low ones which I charged up. So they're all sitting somewhere around 3.8, 3.9, somewhere along there. So I'm hoping that once this gets in the car, I can clear the code and get this thing charging. This particular bank of cells, everything was really good, reading 3.9, pretty much clear across every one of them. This bank of cells, as you can see, I have one cell that's a little bit low. It's reading about 3.76. I'm going to try to get it up to around 3.85 or so. So it's on a charge now. And I believe there's one in here that needs to be charged. So I'm going to try to get everything kind of as close as possible with the means I have. And it's really aggravating that Cadillac GM didn't foresee this coming and or give us some sort of a easy way to clear the code so that we could at least charge and start the car, and maybe not be able to get as many miles on electric, but at least we could have some rather than the car being totally disabled. I am really, really PO'd at GM Cadillac. So I'm going to charge up the last bank, a cell. I think I've got one other cell I need to charge up a little. And then I'll vacuum the edges here and I'll put the cover back on. There's the cover. And this battery pack won't receive any heating or cooling other than what's coming out of the stack. But I charge this on a 110, so it's a slow charge. I don't drive very far, so again, it's not a big discharge. And I'm not a lead foot, so anyway, I'll make another video once I get this thing back in and see what happens. You can see I've got the cells riveted in place of the old cell, and now it's time to install the cover over the whole thing. When I installed the cover, there was not enough room internally in the exterior battery cover to accommodate the battery, this particular cell. It was too thick. So what I ended up doing was cutting a hole in the cover and placing the cover on so that it could go down and I could screw it shut. Once that was done, then I ended up flipping the first cell or battery of this particular cell, flipped it forward so there was one cell that came forward, the other two cells were laying. Then when I tried putting the cover on and got everything bolted down and got the battery pack installed into the car, it was fine. There was no interference with the cavity internally in the car. So there was enough space there, but not inside. So I had to cut the hole in the cover. Well, I got the battery pack reinstalled in the car, but I borrowed a reader, a high dollar one, $3,000 plus, and it was able to give me the voltages on all the batteries, and I kept reading a voltage of about 2.5 volts on one battery, and I didn't understand what was going on and why. Needless to say, the car would not charge. It would set the fault. So, as much as I hated to, I pulled the battery pack again. Here it is. And here is the
spliced in battery. There's um, three batteries in this one cell, and I used some copper to splice in. I cut the old battery out of the circuit. It's still in there, but it's out of the circuit. But what I found out, and I didn't realize, is that the balancing circuit wire went to the side of the battery, which was over here. And that part I cut out of the circuit. So after going through and doing a lot of measuring and figuring out what was going on, I realized that the balancing circuit was monitoring the battery I had taken out of the circuit. So the voltage just kept going lower and lower. It's at like 1.95 now because it wasn't getting charged because it's out of the circuit. So after taking some measurements and figuring out what's what, I physically pulled this wire out of this cable run. I actually pulled the female plug out of here, and I clipped the end of it off and put on and attached it to the new battery, which I've put in. So if you're going to be doing this, replacing one cell, you need to be aware that you need to change the balancing circuit as well. And you may just have to fight that to figure it out. Wiring diagrams and stuff, I can't get a hold of anything. It'd be nice if Chevy or somebody would give us some more detailed information, but you can probably kiss that off. GM and Cadillac suck. Anyway, so now I'm going to put the cover back on, bolt it down, and it's going back down and be installed again in the car. So this actually folds over this way. This is one battery. There's two batteries here. And believe it or not, there's no interference on the top of the area where this battery goes. So it misses the top of the tunnel where this fits. So I'm going to put this back together and get it back down there and see if I've cured the problem. If not, I do not know. We'll take it there and we'll see what happens.
If there is anyone out there who knows what sort of signals and information is coming out of the two connectors, one of them is on the left side looking at the end of the battery pack, and it's black in color, and I understand it's low voltage. And there's a gray one on the right hand side, also low voltage, and they're right next to the cooling tubes that run through the battery. If somebody out there has information as to what is coming and going out of those two connectors, or a wiring diagram, any information at all would be greatly appreciated.